Hello everyone, my name is Asyrafchazz and welcome back to yet another One Piece card game video. So in this video we're gonna talk about all the green cards for OP-03. Really excited for the set to come out. I will be doing a box opening on the release date itself on the 11th of February, so look out for that. Anyway, we're gonna talk about all the green cards. We already talked about red and it ran a little bit long, so we're gonna try and quickly go through all of the green cards for OP-03. But if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving a like and subscribing if you want to keep up to date with more One Piece card game content. Without further ado, let's take a look at all the green cards coming in OP-03, Mighty Enemy. Alright, so we've already talked about Kuro and also Arlong in the leader breakdown video. Link will be in the description below, as well as a tier list that I did with Blackbeard TCG if you want to know our thoughts and opinions about those two leaders. So we're just going to jump through to the next one, which is Alvida. One cost 3000 power with counter 1000. This is your one cost 3000 power vanilla, so we'll just move on. Gotta say, the artwork superior. So next up we have Jin, 4 cost 5000 power, the striker attribute with counter 1000, part of the East Blue and Creek Pirates. And right now the translation is a little bit whack because this is just Google Translate, but I'm referring to the Discord translations right now. Shout out to the kind folks over on Discord, Helmsman Helio, for always translating. He's the GOAT. All credits go to him. So his ability is on play if your leader has the East Blue type, vest up to 2 of your opponent's characters that cost 4 or less. This is extremely powerful. This is one of those effects that will definitely see a lot of play because you're resting 2 characters, right? And cost 4 or less is definitely really, substantial. This is a good boost for Jin, or especially if you're using like for example like Kuro, who has the East Blue traits. So this also really works well with the counterpart, which you will see later on. It's Dawn Creek, which we'll talk about later. But Jin, definitely a very strong card, definitely going to see a lot of play, and his alternate art looks really good as well. Alright, next up we have Dawn Creek himself. This is a 6 cost 7000 power character with the range attribute, and his ability is on play. You may trash 1 card from your hand, KO up to 2 of your opponent's rested characters that cost 4 or less. And his second ability is Dawn 1. This character gains double attack. So immediately this card works extremely well with Jin because you're affecting 2 characters with a cost of 4 or less at only a cost of discarding 1 card from your hand. This card, very versatile. You don't even need to use it with Jin. You can use it like on its own after your opponent has done like a big attack. You can just put down Dawn Creek, get rid of 2 threats, and then that's it. So I think this card definitely going to see some play in the metagame for sure. Whether or not it's as strong as some of the other green cards that we've seen, like Kozuki Oden, even like the Eustace Kid from OP-01, that remains to be seen. But I think it still has a lot of I still think that this card Creek has a place in the metagame for sure. Alright, next up we have Cool Ruby, 4 cost 3000 power, the striker attribute with counter 1000, and its ability is on play if your leader has the East Blue type, rest up to 1 of your opponent's characters, and its triggered ability is to play this card. So this is the card that you want to be playing with Arlong. This is the card that makes Arlong great. It's really funny that the translation of this, because I'm using Google Translate, but I'm referring to the Discord for the accurate translation, but during the traits over here it says Aaron Crew. I don't know what that means. It's Arlong Crew, by the way. But this card is really quite strong. I mean, like, it's powerful if you can get Kurobi out with either from the life or using Arlong's ability. And I think it's going to be versatile. The thing that there's a pattern with all the the fishmen or the cards that work well with Arlong, is that it has a decently high cost, like 4 costs, but the power is a little bit low. Like, this is only a 3000 power beater. I guess that's kind of like the trade-off. If you are triggering these cards from your life or with Arlong's ability, you do need to pump them up with a few dawns. But I don't see any reason to doubt that this card may or may not see some play, especially when you're using it, when you can play it for free with Arlong, right? So I think they gotta balance it somehow. I would have preferred if this card was like 4 cost 4000 power, but that might have made it a little bit pushed. So I think this is a decent stat line for sure. Next we got Sham. So this is a 3 cost 4000 power with the slasher attribute with counter 1000. His ability is on play if your leader has the East Blue type, rest up to 1 of your opponent's cost 2 or lower characters, and if you don't have Buchi in play, play up to 1 Buchi from your hand. So it's one of those, play one card and then play out another card for free, but with the added benefit of being able to rest an opponent's character that costs 2 or less. I think this card is good, whether or not it has a lot of targets, but in the early game for sure, I think it, like your searches, your early game blockers, if you just want to rest those things, then it's fine. And at the same time, if you have Buchi in your hand, and it has like the full value of it, so I think that's, you know, it could be quite valuable. Though I do think that, you know, with these kind of cards, you know, like Shachi Penguin, they may see some play. Sometimes people will definitely play it, but more often than not, they fall off the meta game for sure. Maybe not the cards that people are looking at first, but may make their way to the meta game maybe once people start experimenting with all the other green cards. Next up, we have Django, 5 cost, 6000 power with the special attribute. His ability is on play. Set up one of your leader or characters with a cost of 6 or less with the East Blue type as active, or rest this character and up to one of your opponent's characters. First of all, let's take a look at the second ability first. It's so thematic to Django's like whole ability, where he wants to put you to sleep, but he sleeps himself. So I really quite like that. But that first ability, you know, that's kind of strong. You can immediately just without using Kuro's ability, you can use Django and then restand Kuro and attack again. And also your other characters that's like cost 6 or less, as long as they have the East Blue trait. So I think Django on its own working with Kuro could be quite interesting, especially for that late game push. Either way, a 5 cost 6000 power beater that could potentially just, you know, rest one of your opponent's characters as well at the cost of resting itself could be quite useful. Versatility is the key to this card, and I won't be surprised to see people using Django in future lists. Next up, we have Chu. This is a 4 cost 3000 power with the range attribute with counter 1000, and his ability is on play, KO up to one of your opponent's characters rested with a cost of 4 or less, and his triggered ability is play this card. This is, if not one of the strongest of the Fishman cards that we've seen, because the ability to, let's say, attack with Arlong, use his ability, play Chu out for free, and then KO something that costs 4 or less in rest mode. It's really quite good. I think this is really quite strong. We've seen a lot of like on play KO something that's 4 or less or rested, like in the form of, I believe, X-Drake, and it's heavily played as well. Even if it's just counters in the hand, people do still play it. This one is just a little bit stronger because it does have that trigger ability, so that's why the power is a little bit weaker. I think Arlong cards could be quite cool. I think this card might see some play for sure. Next up is Nami. Nami is a 2 cost 2000 power with counter 1000, part of the East Blue and the Arlong crew, not Aaron crew. And her ability is on play, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal 1 card other than Nami that has the East Blue trait, and then add it to your hand, and then put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order, and the trigger ability is to play this card. So it's quite strong, especially when you're using it with Arlong. I talked about it, like you can attack with Arlong, use his ability, play out Nami, then search and then find and continue your plays from there. Nami is definitely going to be a staple in future green based decks that want to use the East Blue subtrait. Arlong definitely gonna use Nami, maybe Kuro as well, because Nami can technically search them out because they do have the East Blue subtraits. So yeah, I think Nami definitely a staple, metagame defining card. Next up is Pearl, 2 cost 2000 power, the striker attribute with counter 1000 and blocker. So this is your dedicated blocker slot for green for the East Blue subtrait, searchable with Nami, and his blocker. So definitely gonna be useful for any East Blue deck moving forward. Next up, we got Buggy. Buggy is a 3 cost 5000 power with the slasher attribute. We got another Buggy card, that's awesome. And his ability is this character cannot be KO'd in battle with cards that have the slash attribute. So once again, not only characters but leaders as well. So in case you're facing off against a Zoro or predominantly slash attribute characters, then maybe Buggy will be good. But overall, I think, you know, in some cases he might be useful if the metagame calls for it, but at the same time, it's, you know, I would say it's an average card. Depending on how people want to play Buggy, they can, but the fact that it doesn't have counter 1000 kind of makes it, it's almost like a vanilla. So yeah, let's just move on from this. Next up is Hachan. This is your 4 cost 4000 power, the slasher attribute with counter 2000, and the triggered ability is if your leader has the East Blue trait, you can play this card. This is a good card. I think this is a great card because of course the counter 2000, you're definitely going to play a 4 in the deck because you need that plus 2k counter slot, and the fact that you can play it out with Arlong, great. You can play it from your life as well, great. And if you don't want to play it out, you can keep it in your hand for a plus 2k counter. So definitely a really good card for the Arlong deck moving forward. Next up, we got Buchi. There it is, that's Buchi. 4 cost, 5000 power, the slasher attribute with counter 1000. And his ability is on play, KO up to one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 2 or less. So this definitely works well with Sham, the card we talked about earlier, where, you know, and it's definitely spot on based on the anime where they both are like comboing with each other. And yeah, you play out Sham first, rest something, and then you play out Buchi to KO it. So really decent card, but then again with these cards that rely on another to bring them out for free, it's really dependent on whether you have both of them in your hand. But at the same time, I think Buchi is decent enough to be played on its own without bringing it out with Sham's ability. I think Buchi is just like really like a decent card on its own. So whether or not it's going to see some play, well, depends, but I think it's an above average card. Next, we have Moo. This is your 2 cost, 4000 power with counter 1000 vanilla. Great artwork, so let's move on. Alright, next up, we have Out of the Bag. This is your green event cards. Now we're on the green event cards. 3 costs, and its ability is main. You may rest one of your East Blue type characters set up to one of your Kuro as active. So I'm assuming it's gonna refer to the leader, right? And its trigger ability is KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 3 or less that's in rest. Yeah, this is a great card. I think it's pretty interesting to see that Kuro is kind of really dependent on itself. Like you rest your East Blue cards to put it to active. You can use Kuro's ability to you know, put 2 cards to rest and then restand and attack again. So yeah, I think there may be a situation where you're just all in on Captain Kuro, right? You have just all these East Blue characters, and you're getting into that mid to late game where your opponent's down to like 3 or 2 life, and then you just go ham with Kuro. You put a lot of downs on Kuro, attack with Kuro, use Out of the Bag, restand Kuro, attack again, use Kuro's ability, restand him again, attack again. You can get multiple attacks this way. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's what Kuro wants to be doing, and I'm excited to see if people actually make use of Kuro in the future metagame. I think they will, because I think it's an interesting concept. We just have to see whether like it's popular on like the week 1. Next, we have Tooth Attack. This is your 1 cost event card. Its ability is main. You may rest one of your East Blue type characters, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 3 or less that's rested. Its trigger ability is play one of your characters with a cost of 4 or lower with trigger from your hand. This is interesting. I think this card could be really good in the future because, you know, if you need to get rid of something that costs 3 or less, maybe you use your Nami, you searched out with it, you can rest Nami and then you play out Tooth Attack to KO something. I think that's really good. And the trigger ability is also really quite interesting as well. It's basically Arlong's ability on an event card trigger. So yeah, I'm curious to see if people will make use of this event card, especially when you want to clear like your opponent's rested. Like you got your Okikus, you got your Nico Robins that would, you know, may continue to see some play in OP-03. This card is a good answer for that. Next up, we got MH5, or like Highly Toxic Gas Bullet, MH5. Its ability is a 1 cost event card. Its ability is main, rest up to 2 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 2 or less. Then trigger, rest up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. So this card, you know, could be quite good against like Zoro decks that want to set up. And then if you pair this with Dawn Creek, you can get rid of those cards. Then they will be quite good. Outside of that, I don't really see this card being played as much. Like, I feel like the scope of it is too small, and at the same time, there are better cards. Even if you're just affecting 1 card, it might be better than 2 small ones. That's what I feel. Then the trigger ability, I think it's really quite good. If you attack into your opponent's, like if your opponent's trying to attack into you and you trigger this card from your life and then you rest another attacker, that's a great way to prevent attacks that way. But then again, that main ability, I don't think it's that strong. I think this card is definitely below average for sure. Next up, we got 1-2 Django. This is your 1 cost green event card. Its ability is main. Rest up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 1 or less, then up to 1 of your characters gains 1000 power during this turn. Triggered ability is rest up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. So I'm just gonna say it, I don't think this card is really good. I think it's just too specifics, too niche. Love that is callback to 1-2 Django, but this card is definitely below average. As a playability standpoint, I think this card isn't that good. Alright, so that's all the green cards for OP-03. We are going to be moving on to the blue cards next, but I'm going to save it for the next video just so that the videos won't be too long, because right now we're already reaching like almost 20 minutes or even more. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will be opening up a box or two of OP-03 on its release date, 11th of February, so look out for that. I'm excited to finally open up OP-03 and let's see what we get during the opening. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. We're going to talk about the blue cards next. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.